Welcome back to another episode, lovers and friends. This is going to be a bit of a quickie episode because there's always time to fit in some inspiration. And Lord knows we can use some inspiration when it comes to the world of dating and men. This episode is all about healing your father wounds. That's right. We all got some kind of daddy issues. But do you want to know one of the fastest ways to predict how a man will treat you in your marriage? Simply look at the relationship you have with your father. That is the genesis of why I'm creating this episode today. I was in a conversation as well as my own experience with my fiance around looking at our marriage, looking at values in our marriage that we're creating. And then also in another conversation I had with a woman who is about to get married. And we were talking about our fiancés and we were talking about our values. And I got home and I was so excited. And then what happened? She called me to say that she had gotten into an argument with her fiance because she didn't like the way that he was talking to her. And she wanted to know if it was valid or not that she was upset on some of the things that he was saying that felt verbally abusive, which really caught her off guard. And so I asked her, I said, hey, do you let your dad talk to you that way? And she says, yeah, my dad does talk to me negatively and puts me down and is criticism and sometimes calls me a bitch. And I'm like, does your fiance ever hear those phone calls? She says, yeah, he does. And actually, he doesn't like the relationship that I have with my father and that he thinks I should actually distance myself from my dad. But that's such a hard concept for me to even do because of my Latin background. And we don't do that kind of a thing, as well as like my dad and my mom are so excited that I'm getting married and that they said that like, I'm now a worthy woman because I'm getting married. And so I should be so happy. So she has a lot of belief systems that are going on below the surface. And when I shared with her, which is what I'm going to share with you now, is that all of those subconscious belief systems and behavioral patterns that have been ingrained in her, that she's accepting this type of behavior from her dad, and that the way that she's letting him treat her and also letting her fiance witness how another man is treating her poorly, disrespectfully, that sets the bar and the tone, even if it's quietly, in her future marriage and her relationship. So here's the thing. If your father was emotionally unavailable or toxic or verbally abusive or criticizing, there's a good chance that all your life you've been trying to earn love from your dad your entire life, which also means trying to earn love from men your entire life. So a lot of women say that they want a devoted husband, right? She's like, I want him. We're in devotion. I have a high standard. He can't talk to me that way. He's got to respect me. But then unconsciously choose men who feel familiar to her father wound. So her father wound is that she accepts her father being mean and critical and puts her down and doesn't feel great about herself, but she wants his love and she wants his approval. And then yet the man that she chose, who's an amazing man, by the way, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a great man and there's a great match. Yet unconsciously, they're both playing out the existing dynamic, even if it's a 1% expression of that dynamic in their relationship, and that will set the tone for their marriage. Why? Because your husband, your future husband, will almost always mirror the healing or the wounds that are still living inside of you as a woman. Until you heal, even at the most granular level, your daddy issues and your father wounds, that will continuously find a way to express and play itself out. Why? Because a relationship is a fast track to healing. And we are here to learn, grow, and evolve spiritually through the mirror of relationship. Our partner is a mirror for us, for the love that we never received, for the attention or the commitment that we hoped for or we chased for. So you might find that up until now and listening to this episode, you might have been attracted to men who were withholding love, attention, or commitment. Or you might have accepted behavior from your husband or your fiance or your partner that mirrors and mimics the behavior of your father. Even though you don't like it, yet you've accepted it. Why? Because you haven't healed it on a nervous system level, your inner childhood dynamics that are being recreated out. And your nervous system doesn't choose a partner logically. It chooses what feels familiar. So for example, if your father's love felt inconsistent or distant, you may feel a lot of chemistry with men who are inconsistent or distant. You also may find yourself in a pattern with trying to earn love or earn more attention or perform for more approval. And you might find yourself in these power struggle dynamics with your partner where you feel powerful, independent on your own, but then when you're in a relationship or when your partner's around, your fiance's around, your husband's around, you might go into this people-pleasing dynamic or an overgiving or an overfunctioning dynamic. Or you might even find that you may be wearing your masculine armor to protect yourself from your partner because maybe you had to protect yourself from your father, from your childhood. And that's playing out not only in committed relationships, but also in your dating dynamic. Dating wise, you may feel anxious when a man pulls away or takes a couple of days to respond. You may feel really uncomfortable when a man begins to express love for you deeply or express desire for you deeply. You might be, again, over functioning in the relationship to lead the dynamic so you know where it's going. You try to create certainty. You try to be the hunter. And as the feminine, when we are in the hunter, the men only have two things to do. They can either run and flee, or they can collapse, which we don't want either of those things. So subconsciously, we are still attaching our worth to our father's perceptions, expectations, and limitations of us as a woman. And so until we do this healing, we can't raise our standards. We can't let devotion feel safe. And we can't stop chasing, performing, tap dancing for love. Even when the love is safe, we don't trust it. So here's what I want to start to bring into the space. The man you marry will not nor ever heal your father wounds, but as a mirror, he can help you to heal and completely change the kind of dynamic you have with a man that you choose. Yeah. Because when you break that pattern of trying to earn your father's love that you never got, that was absent, that you've never grieved, that you wish you had and received, and trying to dynamic out even with your current partner, that's when you can work it out and let your husband, your fiance, the man you're dating, finally meet you in a place of self-sovereignty, of wholeness, of self-sourced worthiness, free of limitations, free of expectations, free of tap dancing for love, because you don't need to do that anymore. Why? Because you've chosen to really heal. And you've chosen to finally grieve. That's right. Grieving the love that you never received as a child from your father, that you wish you had had. Grieving the relationship that you wish you would have had, that you still may not have today. And letting it be Okay, why is this really important? And I'm going to give one example here only as a quickie, and you can use this to mirror and see where that works in your life. I'm going to go back to that same example. If you are a woman who has high standards, who works on herself, who grows, who invests, who prioritizes herself, her pleasure, her business, her love, her body, her relationship, and you've really set the tone in the bar, and you found the love of your life, he found you, he's proposed to you, you're getting married, or you are married, or you want to be married, and you're on that path. Amazing. Absolutely fucking fantastic. Congratulations. You are winning the life lottery right now. But again, if you have not healed, even at the granular level, the relationship and the pattern, the emotional, spiritual, habitual pattern that you have with your father of accepting less than you deserve, of accepting negativity, criticism, meanness, toxicity, hot and cold. And that is still an active, engaging dynamic that is in your life. That pattern, that way of behavior will limit the depth, the healing, and the devotion that you can experience with your husband. Because your husband will always mirror the relationship you have with your father at the deepest granular level. And the only way to make sure that this does not happen in your marriage is by healing it at the root, which means behavioral change, which means building up some boundaries around the communication you have with your father. If it doesn't fill you up, if it doesn't lift you up, if it's not loving, if it's not supportive, you would never accept that from someone else around you, from your friends group. You would not accept that from the man that you're about to marry. You would question marrying that man because you want to make sure he meets you in devotion. You have that high bar, you have that high standard. But guess what? If you don't have that with your father, because you still want his approval, you feel bad or guilty, changing the dynamic you have with him to one that actually serves you and your husband and your future nucleus family that you'll be creating, where it's only an environment of celebration, of love, of acceptance, of communication, of empathy, of understanding, then it's going to be pretty damn near impossible to really set that tone if there's still a door open and you're still actively engaging in an unhealthy, toxic, codependent relationship with your father. And if you don't have an opportunity to fix it with him directly because he isn't as emotionally developed, spiritually developed, doesn't have communication skill set, that's okay. This doesn't always mean you got to fix it with him directly. It does mean that you've got to redefine what masculine love looks like, what you will and will not accept in your relationship to the masculine in totality and its whole. You've got to grieve what you didn't receive as a kid from your dad and what you don't receive as a grown woman from your dad. And then separating your worthiness from any of his own ideas, limitations, expectations of you. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying you've got to have courage to do this. But when you do this, your standard will raise naturally. The little tinge of like toxic, unhealthy, cringy kind of behavior that your husband, your partner is doing will start to dissolve on a granular, deep root level because he can feel through the neurosensing from your nervous system to him that energy, that dynamic is actually truly not aligned in this dynamic anymore. So it changes effortlessly the dynamic between the two of you. And I've seen this time and time again, right? And so back to the story, what did she do? I had her have a conversation with her dad. Her dad didn't understand why she was choosing her husband over him as her dad, as her first love. He even said, I've loved you from the very beginning. I'm your first love. You know, no one will love you more. You can't choose a man over me. Try to make all this kind of guilt, put his hooks in her, right? And she felt bad about it. But I was so proud of her that she actually chose herself, not even her husband. She chose herself. She chose her standard. She chose the level of which she will accept and tolerate and what she won't accept and tolerate. And I was so proud of her because she told her dad, hey, listen, I'm not going to let you talk to me bad anymore. I'm not going to let you put me down. I'm not going to let you tell me you're disappointed by my way and my action because I'm a grown woman and I'm living my life for myself. Her dad was really upset. So she said, you can be upset. And whenever you're ready to talk, I'll be here. And what has happened? He hasn't called her for a couple of weeks. So what happens? Like I said, I'm giving you a real life example. The feeling of anxiousness that she felt as a child when her dad was upset came up. And what happened? Her husband felt her really anxious, really bothered, really upset. And he couldn't understand why until she finally said, I had to talk with my dad. He's mad at me. And he said, this makes sense. Now I get it. Notice how your dad and your relationship is affecting our marriage. Until you get that cleared and under control, it's going to always impact us. And that's when it clicked. And I hope where it clicks for you right now listening. All the things that are uncomfortable, that you're avoiding, that you feel anxious about, all the fears you have that are in relationship with the dynamic that you have with your father that still keep you hooked and attached will never go away until you have the courage to face them, to grieve, to transform that relationship inside of yourself so it does not affect your marriage, so it does not impact the relationship you have with your husband. As I started this episode, you want to know the fastest way to predict how a man will treat you in marriage? Look at the relationship you have with your father. The more that you get comfortable with people being upset with you, with letting go of people pleasing, with clearing those quiet, subtle cues of insecurity or validation you're seeking, the more in devotion you'll be to the wholeness, the respect, the love you have for yourself, the more your husband will be in devotion to that. The more unconscious and subconscious patterns of unhealthy dynamic will start to dissolve. And the more your husband, your partner, will mirror the healing that has now been done and that is true inside of you. So again, your father may have been your first experience of the masculine, but he does not get to define your future with men. Don't let him. Don't let him have that much power over you. No man, no matter if it's your father or not, should ever have that much power over you. You are a sovereign being and a woman of worth, innately worthy of love because you are born. And the beautiful part of this work is that once you become aware of this pattern, you can begin to heal it. You can grieve what you didn't receive. You can reclaim your worth. You could redefine what love feels like in your body. And when you begin to do that work, what happens? Something incredible shifts. You stop performing and tap dancing for love. You recognize the real love when it shows up. This unconditional love, this consistent love, this safe love that doesn't feel like an explosion of fireworks, but it feels like the safety of a fireplace, ready, warm, waiting for you, not going to burn you. And that's the kind of partnership that we truly desire and that can finally meet you. You get to rewrite the blueprint. You get to decide that devotion feels safe. You get to decide that you're worthy of a man who shows up consistently. You get to decide that love doesn't have to be something you fight for or have to prove yourself for or make happen. You don't have to be the man and push it forward. And when you do that inner healing, your husband, the way he treats you, the way he speaks to you, will begin to shift and change. The moment you heal that relationship within yourself, you stop looking for your husband to fill that old wound. This is where you get to heal this part of your story. It's not just changing how you see your past, it really is transforming the kind of love that you're allowing yourself to receive in your future. So that's today's episode, a little quickie of inspiration when it comes to your future with men and marriage. And I send you lots of love on your journey and sending you so much juicy, juicy strength within, that you may remember that, and that you may remember the feminine fire within to step into courage to change the dynamic you have with your father once and for all, and choose you and your future. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, lovers, be well.